Hello, hello. Today we are talking about probably my favorite character when it comes to a design profile in any game I've ever played. It is from the MOBA hero shooter hybrid of Paladins, Damba. Let's talk about him a little bit. I think that he is the best designed character in any game I've ever seen. Not just necessarily for his own strengths as an individual character, but how he fits into the game of Paladins and how it forces you to adapt to different scenarios in the game in a very direct way. So let's talk about it a little bit. Starting off with, of course, our talents and cards. So there's a lot to get over and kind of explain here, but basically, in Paladins, every character has one of three talents that they have been able to choose from since basically the launch of the game back in 2016, 2017. Bit of a blur, bit of a rough question to ask, but it's been a long time, and they've been able to choose talents for the vast majority of this time. And talents give you different strengths to different abilities on your kit, and of course Damba has 5 different abilities, or at least 5 listed abilities. What do I mean by that? Well, for that, we're going to take an adventure into the very first game cap portion of a video of mine. We're going to be talking about Damba as a character in Paladins Defenders of the Realm. Ignore me being bad at aiming, we're going to talk about him in the in-game running engine of the game, how he works, what his abilities do, and how he operates, including the talent system and all else. So, let's get into things. First off, I would like to highlight I am using the Not Fair Damba skin. If you play the game at any point in time, you might not use the skin, you might use the skin. It's kind of hard to tell, but I just want to illustrate that for why any of my graphics might look different on my skin compared to your default gameplay. So, getting into it just right off the rip, his basic attack is just a regular arced spit. As you can see, it does pretty okay-ish damage. Shooting against DPS class characters, I'll get into that in a second. Shooting into DPS class characters, he's able to take them down in a good amount of shots. It's a very high time to kill game, Paladins. So honestly, it's a respectable amount of damage, but the arc does make it to where hitting your longer range shots can become a little bit more awkward after a little while. And of course, you might see that he has a different projectile that I'm also shooting out that is on a much shorter angle. For example, right there, it won't reach the victor. That'll also go over the victor. That'll do mediocre damage. That other projectile won't quite hit. If I aim a good amount higher, it will hit, and it stuns. That is Damba's secret gimmick, so to speak. It is his reload fire. By reloading, he launches a snake, it stuns an enemy, and that gives him a lot of interesting utility, and I'll get into why it's important in a minute. If I go over to the other end of the training range, just over into this section here, I can showcase that he is a support. His right click gives a burst healing hit scan in one area, and if you miss, the cooldown refreshes faster, so you can target your heal faster. In addition to that, he has a gourd that you can place on the ground for a wide AoE that will consistently heal a target, but will also be able to damage enemies. Let me just get it refreshed, and like that, it's damaging enemies for less damage than the healing output, but that's as is most games and their design. I also have this little dashy bit. It is an invulnerable dash. It means that I can go from place to place very quickly, very safely. I am currently utilizing a card set that gives me extra range on it, so that's why it looks a little bit crazy. I'll get into what cards are in a minute. There's so much I need to mention about this game. And his last ability, his kit seems very simple so far, and it is very simple so far. His final ability is a cast fear that you can reactivate to detonate. It summons a large AoE. They're not supposed to run forever. This is a training mode bug that has existed for a while. However, okay, can I stop them from dying. That would be awesome. Awesome. That'll be fine for now. So the fear is a wide AoE. I can detonate it at any point. It will fear them. It's a pretty cool effect. So fear is just like they're walking away from wherever the source is. So why do I think that this is the most like novel idea? It just seems like a very simple kit, all things considered, right? It's not a very complicated kit. The character abilities don't really do that much, all things considered. So what makes him special? And there's a few things that make him special. One, his numbers are very well tuned to where he does a very healthy balance of damage through all of his different abilities being cycled in a proper way. And also healing, if you're able to cycle around a mechanic that I will get into in just a little bit. As you can see, with no other like real components or concepts, this Fernando is staying very healthy. Our little Reinhardt with a flamethrower over here is staying very healthy, all things considered. So he has good healing, he has good damage. It's not best in the game. In fact, there's a lot of characters in the game. As you can see, almost a full roster of, I don't want to count this actually right now, 12, 48, almost 60. We're at 59 characters in game. Assuming I count that right, and assuming that it doesn't include horse. If you're wondering about a horse, that's a whole different ordeal. Look at YouTube from 3 years ago, you'll find it eventually. It's crazy. So, anyways, he does okay healing, he does okay damage, he has okay crowd control. What makes him special? What makes him click? What makes him such a unique character? That is both this menu that I've shown you before, our talent screen, in combination with this menu right here, items. In Paladins, every game you start with 500 credits, and then as the game progresses, you may earn more credits through playing the game, touching objectives, capturing objectives, doing damage, getting eliminations, getting support assists. All sorts of different things will get you credits in this game. Even pushing payloads will get you a lot of credit in this game. So what makes that special, and why does it work with Damba very well? Well, if you really start to break down all of the different components to how this character works. Sorry, I just realized I was in a Discord VC. I don't want to mess with people through that. Let me just make sure my screen capture is still working. Perfect. Perfect, that should be fine. And that means that my Discord just changed. No, it's still on Do Not Disturb. Sorry, I'm trying to like thoroughly figure out how all of my screens work because I've never done a game capture segment in a video before. Even though I've streamed on Twitch, that uses a completely different overlay that looks very different. It's a long story. Anyways, back to the point. The credits. The credits for this character. There's a lot of items in this game, and it would take too long to go over all of them, but I can mention ones that are all universally good. Chronos is a good example. Chronos reduces the cooldown of every single ability that you use by 10%. And so that means that I can heal on a faster cooldown. If I get up to Chronos 3, just like that, if I'm missing my heal regularly, I get it back almost instantly. And even on a target that I'm healing, it's only around a 2-second cooldown, which is very fast, and as you can see, this guy's not going down anytime soon. It means my movement ability is on a 4-second cooldown. That's a very fast cooldown. It means my gourd is on a pretty fast cooldown as well. It means that I can do a whole lot of things very effectively. So, Chronos is good on this character. That is a great thing to know. But what else do I have to go over with regards to this character? Because Chronos is good on him. That's great. Healing, like getting extra cooldowns is good on every support. But he has so much more that he can be doing. Because of his AoE heal, it means that he can sustain one character, 1 point, tank, or whatever it is. In Paladins, it is 5v5. It is no rule queue. Which means that a lot of comps are going to be double tank, single support, single DPS, single flank class, which is a whole other ordeal. The flank class is kind of just a burst DPS with high movement, low HP, low sustain. But I'm not going to get into it right now. It's a whole thing for another day on why I think it's a very clever class to have. But beyond all of that, it means that he's very good at sustaining one main target on a point and a lot of more assassin-style targets or other supports on other parts of the map. While he is doing all of that, this game has a lot of sightlines in a lot of maps, and it means that you are constantly at risk of things happening. It means you have to constantly disengage and re-engage on the regular. Especially in early games, you got to be able to get from one spot to another very quickly, which is where him having an untargetable, intangible movement ability that gives him invulnerability and travels a pretty sizable distance, it makes it very good. It means that he can put down a gourd, be healing over here, target a heal over there, move into cover on the far right side, get another heal out to his tank in order to keep them up, get another slither into the backline, throw a gourd with some lineup to hit a point, go for another heal on a support halfway across the map. It means that he has very high range on his heals, very high sustain on his heals. He's very effective at group team fighting with his main gourd heal. And of course, he's able to get in and out of situations very easily. He has all of his sustain as well, and of course for team fights, he has his big ultimate that just basically says, okay, if you don't buy items that reduce crowd control, like resilience, you're not going to be getting away from this. That is one thing with this game. There's a lot of items that have counterplay to different effects. For example, resilience reduces the effects of crowd control by 25% per tier. Up to tier 3, it means that a 3-second fear is doing actually very little in the span of such a long time to kill game as Paladins is. But then we also have things like Wrecker and Bulldozer, which destroy different types of shields and things like that. So a whole bunch of interactions through that. We don't need to get into it now. But relevant for Maldamba's case is his stun. His stun is an amazing get off me tool. It is an amazing way to prevent people from catching up with him. It's another unique type of CC that almost every single character in the game will have to deal with in some form or another. So what is relevant about Maldamba's little grab? Is it on a cooldown or anything? No, it's not on a cooldown. But its reload animation is long. There's an item that reduces his reload animations. Suddenly, with that item maxed, I can throw out 2 snakes at a time pretty consistently. I never run out of ammo. And you can't necessarily stun lock people because there is an internal cooldown on receiving different types of crowd control from the same source. But it means that you can burst multiple people down very quickly, not run out of ammo as quickly, get a stun, get out with your movement ability. It gives you a very natural progression for the middle and late stages of the game to keep yourself space, but also to act as an engage tool for your tanks, to act as a way to disrupt most cast time based abilities. It gives you a lot of options on the whole, and that's one thing Maldamba has plentiful of. He has options. It doesn't matter if you're going for high healing, high sustain. It doesn't matter if you're going for this burst get off me option. In a game, and in the span of one game with whatever setup you will have the tools to deal with just about any situation. And that's where finally these talents come into play. At the start of a game, you get to choose from one of the talents, and there's technically card sets as well, but they just give slight buffs and nerfs to different features. We don't need to get into it right now. It's different on every character. But for talents, you get to spec into different areas. And this is where I have to mention one other feature of Paladins that is very different to most other elements of a game in this genre. And that would be Cauterize. What is Cauterize? Cauterize is an effect that whenever you hit an opponent, or whenever an opponent hits you, their healing is reduced by a scaling amount from 25% to 90% as the game progresses. So at the start of the game, Cauterize is at 25%, and your healing will still mostly go through, but it's a bit less effective if someone has just been in combat, or isn't blocking damage with shield style effects. But in late stages of the game, your healing option that is doing 800 plus heal is now suddenly doing close to no heal. And so now we're starting to get into a bit of a predicament. You can't just fully focus on healing, you also have to mitigate cauterize. So let's go back to these talents and see what they do. We're going to start on the middle one because it is probably the most unique one of the lot. Ripened Gourd makes your gourd do less damage, which means you build your ult charge more slowly if you throw it on a point, and it damages enemies. Another good part to gourd is that if you throw it on a team fight, it heals your allies, it damages your enemies, it gets you a lot of ult charge very fast. It's very good for farming ult. But it means that if you go for the super gourd build, basically, it's doing a lot more healing, don't get me wrong. But even with all that extra healing, with Cauterize starting to stack up as the stages of the game go longer and longer, it starts to get a little bit scary, all things considered. Because now your point fight gourd is healing less, it is doing significantly less damage to people, almost ticklish amounts of damage. And so now you're better in early fights, you're worse in mid and late fights, which is a pretty scary ordeal to subject yourself to. Next up, we have Spirit's Chosen. It gives a 350 burst heal at the start of your heal, instead of only doing an overtime heal. Which is pretty important because it means if you can shut down Cauterize, you get a lot more sustained healing from the start of your burst, and teammates are able to technically go into the line of combat faster after your heal hits them for the first time. Just one quick little burst at the very start of your heal does a lot to change the total health bar before you get affected by Cauterize, and it means that you're able to do more dynamic team fighting in late game, whilst having higher early game heals to a lesser degree. And the last talent is the greedy talent, Wakono's Wrath. It makes your projectile travel faster and deal more damage. We've of course already talked about what extra damage might look like for a character like this. But if I go for my reloads, you will now see that both of my weapons have the exact same arc. And I'm now suddenly doing 70 damage per hit. And now I'm two-tapping everyone in their stun animation. So I become extremely self-sustainable, all things considered. And I'm not running out of ammo. It's amazing. I can be very selfish. This is, mind you, with full deft hands. My reload animation does not change. But it means I can be so self-sustainable that no matter what team composition I am on, I can either focus on high burst heals, like I've demonstrated over here with our shield tank over here. I can be moving around and doing very dynamic hybrid plays with good initiating healing off of my mend, plus gourd to keep myself alive, sometimes keep my team alive, and just enable team fights in a different way. Plus it's good for stealth detection. We don't need to get into it. Or I can go for a high burst, high damage, stun based playstyle where I'm throwing snakes all the time and I'm realizing that my fall off is almost nothing on the snake and it's a little bit ridiculous. Can I hit all the way over there? Yeah. Like that's ridiculous. It's so awesome. What it means is that Damba can do a little bit of everything in all stages of the game as well. Because in early game you have very high sustained healing through Gourd and Mending Spirits on a variety of targets, especially with your fast cooldowns, but you are susceptible to dives. So you have a solid defensive tool to get out of engagements with your stun and your dash. You shoot, you prepare another stun, and you dash. In early game you're able to get out of engagements pretty easily. In late game with max deft hands, you go from being able to do high sustain with it to being able to do high burst damage. Apply a lot of Cauterize yourself with your regular projectile as well, because your projectile as a support does also apply Cauterize, all things considered. And it means that you're also able to have utility to your team in ways other than your healing. In order to engage as a support in most games, you have two options. You can either do a lot of healing or a lot of crowd control. And I don't know about you, but a massive snake that crowd controls everyone and combines with your stuns to pretty much deny opponents the ability to move is kind of awesome. The other thing is, in late game, if you fully invest in your damage playstyle, if you take damage from a variety of sources, let's say I go over here and I take damage from these Cassie bots. That's a good amount of damage right there. Out of combat for a little while, and you will eventually start to regenerate health. I kind of did a bad demonstration of that because I was going out into the main lobby room. But if I'm over here, you'll see a meter in the bottom right of my screen, and as it goes down, I begin to heal myself as well. And it means that even focusing on this hardcore damage playstyle and trying to enable my team with just raw damage output and cauterize spreading, I am still providing relevant supportive utility to my team. And it means that not only am I not one-dimensional, but I am flexible and dynamic as a game progresses. Depending on what my team needs at what stages of the game, I am able to provide a unique set of traits every single time to support all of my team members. And there's no composition that Damba is expressively bad with, unless you are really bad at hitting your right-click hit scan heals. But if you're really bad at hitting your right-click hit scan heals, might I recommend just buying Chronos 3, because, I mean, with full respect, there's no cooldown on that thing when I miss. If I buy Max Horde, which gives me cooldown reduction as well, it's a machine gun heal until I hit it. And even after I hit it, it's kind of ridiculous. So, that's my recap on Damba, all things considered. It's a very simple kit. It's a very simple game when it comes to the dynamics of how to play every character. Every character has their 5 abilities. Damba, with his special reload stun, does technically have 6. But for all of the game mechanics that are in here, with all of the different items you can buy dynamically, the different types of map layouts and the different types of dynamic angles you can approach different maps from, when it comes to the different types of talents you can choose in order to determine what your strengths are at the beginning of a game, how to adapt to different team comps. For example, on a solo healer comp, whether you want Spears Chosen for good engage and dive potential, or Ripened Gourd for better point fighting, or in a double support comp, which has been very popular in the past, going for double damaging talents through Rakono's Wrath and your teammate choosing another damaging talent. It means you have a lot of really good options, all things considered, no matter what route you go, to make sure you're always providing maximum utility to your team. And there's something very novel about that and something very unique about that with Damba that is kind of hard to grasp in most games. And it's kind of fascinating how this character has managed to be at the top of the meta for so many years. There's so many characters in this game that can do so many other ridiculous things. Let's go for an example through the current healing emoji. I'm not going to get into what all of the effects of everything does. This character was reworked before the game servers shut down. But as of right now, this character's burst healing is frankly a little ridiculous. This character also has a different damaging mode instead if they would like to, which I can access through here. I have an infinite dash that just gives me a very large amount of movement speed, all things considered. As you can see, I have very high damage potential on different talents as well. I have a shield that makes it very difficult for me to go down. I even have a true polymorph combo, which if I use over here with my dash, I'm able to just get rid of someone at any health, and then get away however far I need to. And if you're really good still, you can still bunny hop with this character as well. Unfortunately, I'm not as good at the bunny hopping, all things considered, because it's been a few years since I've done good Moji gameplay. But it's still very interesting, all things considered. And for the amount of cool things that characters in this game can do, or even the amounts of ridiculous movement that you can acquire, let's say you're going for 7. I can just kind of go a little bit of a wherever I pleases type of angle. I'm trying to figure out how to guarantee my items all go off. Okay, that should be fine, and that's my collar loadout. Sorry, I'm just looking for a very particular card set, because there is a very particular style of 7 that I think is just ridiculous to show off, where you kind of just infinitely move. You're just the movement character in this game. Like, you can kind of do a little bit of whatever you want when it comes to how you move on some of the characters in this game. Another great example is actually one of our... Let's go for Azan, actually. Let's go flying. So Azan's another very interesting character with some very interesting wind-up animations and such. It doesn't really matter. He has 3-hit passives and whatnot, but this is not the point of the video. I love this character. It has been ages since I have played him, but I was very, very good at him when I was actually good with my tracking. But the point to what I'm trying to say is that he has some, frankly, ridiculous movement tech and movement abilities as well. The movement in this game is crazy. But all of it has counterplay and all of it has answers. And the fact that one of the best defenses is to go with a snake who has the zoomies, and you dash in, and you just decide when you need to, you get your stun off on someone, you get out, you get your damage on a group of people, you give yourself your group healing when you need, you make sure you can finish off all of your targets as well. There's something really almost endearing about how simple a character can be to do so many amazing things just because of the design of the game at base. There's something just really, frankly, awesome about it, and that's why Damba is probably my favorite example of character design in games, period. That is all I have to say about Damba for today. I know it's a different style of video, it's a lot more rambly, and it's less formatted through the slides, but I did want to still bring it to everyone's attention, because Paladins is a game that I love dearly. I've gotten into it again just very recently, and it has been the time of my life. The servers are in absolute distress today, but that's okay. It's been a very enjoyable time nonetheless. When it comes to my experience in genre a little bit, just if you were wondering, I played this game for a good amount. I think I'm approaching 2,000 hours on my main account, and I have a whole bunch of other accounts, like, for example, my controller account. I do have an alternate account as well that I was trying to do a challenge of doing no damage on, which was a little crazy for a game with an anti-heal mechanic, but it was a very fun challenge as well. I also have some game design experience. I've designed especially more so customizable kits and freedom of expression types of games, where something like the Paladins card system, talent system, and item system combining, there is tens of thousands of combinations on how to play each character in this game, and stuff like that is right up my alley. And I do absolutely adore Paladins to the core. If you want to see me talk about characters in Paladins, characters in other games, comparing different types of characters from different genres or different areas in the same genre, please let me know down in the comments below. While you're there, if you're on mobile, hype the video, like the video. You can send a subscribe to the channel as well. Of course, the big red button is down below. You're also able to access a few other links if you want to talk to me on a more one-on-one level, or just get opinions on things. There's all sorts of things down in the description for you to take a look at. That's about all I have time for today, though. I want to thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I know it's a bit of a weird format, but it is a bit of a weird, crazy day and a very weird time of year. So I just want to thank you all for stopping by, and I'm wishing you all the best time. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good day.